Hey everybody, thanks for listening today. I'm extremely excited to have Cris Eddings on the phone. He's an owner at both Five Restaurant and Chuck's Fish, and there's two Chuck's Fish locations, five of the Five Restaurant locations, and they're spread around in Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia, and doing some really, really cool stuff with these restaurants. Cris, thanks so much for taking the time to join today.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you having me. It's nice to be on here.
So you're okay. So let's get started. Just tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started in the restaurant business.
Sure. My background is stems back to my mother's side of the family. I was actually born and raised in Tokyo, and my mother's Japanese, and we've had pretty successful restaurants in and around the Tokyo area for the past 3 generations. My mom's side of the family has had your typical Japanese cuisine restaurants and also sushi restaurants. So I kind of grew up in the biz, and when I was 12 years old, I moved to the United States and did the whole school thing. And then after high school and college, I ended up I've got a degree from the University of West Florida, and I worked in Boston as a software developer for about 3 years, and all the while knowing that eventually I was going to be in the restaurant business. So I found myself in 2002 managing a restaurant called Harbor Docks in Destin, Florida. Well, long before that, my mother was partnered with Charles Morgan, who's the owner of Harbor Docks down in Destin. And my mother had put our family sushi bars into his concepts that were spread out, and in particular Harbor Docks. That was 27 years ago now. So it started off where my mother put a sushi bar in the Harbor Docks in 1989 or 1988. And then so Charles Morgan, who owns Harbor Docks, had known me since I was a young teenager. And since then, and I just found myself after college, 2002, I went back home to Destin, Florida, and I started managing Harbor Docks, his restaurant. And 3 years later, he and I partnered in and opened our first restaurant called Camille's in Destin, Florida. And then now 10 years later, here I am. My business partner is Charles, and we've since opened all the Chuck's Fish and the 5 restaurants together.
That's fantastic. You guys have really done a lot in a short amount of time. You got seven total locations now, right?
We do. Between those two concepts, yeah, we started off with the Chuck's Fish in Tuscaloosa. And several years later, we opened the Chuck's Fish in Birmingham, and then the 5 restaurants spawned, and that was in early January 2011. And then 1.5 years later, we just opened our 5th 5 location in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Gotcha. Well, so really good growth, and you guys are clearly doing a great job of running these things. I mean, is it talk about that? I mean, going from a single Chuck's Fish, and then a second, and then you've got 5 of these 5 restaurant locations. I mean, that's got to have some challenges that go along with growing that quickly. And how have you guys been able to do that so well?
I think the biggest obstacle in something like that is, and it's something I've learned, is that it's extremely difficult to find good people to work with and really manage these restaurants. They got to be people that share your vision, that understand that we're not in it just for the bottom line, and it's hard to find good, passionate people who truly invest in their time and effort into what we believe in. Fortunately, we've been able to do that, but it hasn't been easy. And so, we're a type of company who certainly believes, you may not think so with our track record, but we do believe in slow growth, and we don't want to pursue and quote, bite off more than we could chew. It's a situation where we'd like to get our store open and make sure that unit is performing well and up to our expectations, and then we'll likely start looking at another location. But we're certainly not really capable with the management staff, quite frankly, we've never done this, so I don't know that we'd be really good at opening a bunch of locations at once. So we like to take our time, do things right, we're running the risk here with these five, the five stores and restaurants that we're opening because we focus so much on being an individually owned restaurant and a non-corporate, non-chain because we're not. We localize every store that we have by trying to incorporate local farms. We try to integrate into the local communities at each location. So because we think that's just crucial to running a successful business in these type of towns that we're opening in.
Well, now let me ask you this. I found something. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but am I right that 5 stands for the number 5 is because you guys you have like 5 menu items in each category, like 5 appetizers, 5 entrees, 5 beers. Is that right? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's based on the premise that, while there are obviously many wonderful restaurants out there, there's a lot of restaurants that we feel can be overwhelming in regards to the menu. And what we wanted to do was do a restaurant that's based on the concept of doing a few things, but trying to do those things really well. And I know when I go to my favorite restaurant, if I know I'm going to a certain place tonight and I've been there before, I pretty much know what I'm going to order before I walk into the store. And so because I'm thinking about it, and we feel that. And I found that even with this style, with this simple style of a menu, people seem to still have issues deciding what to order. So and also, we also understand that having only 5 things, if you only got 5 entrees, they better be pretty dang good. And so while the expectations are raised tremendously when somebody walks in our door, it also allows us much more time and focus and energy to practice and really pick apart what we're actually putting out there. And so while the expectations are high, it gives us a chance to really focus on what we're doing.
Now, you see, I love that, man. I really love that you guys are doing that. And I tell you, so Chris, of course, a lot of people that are listening to this podcast are people that, are aspiring restaurant owners. And I think that's, for those of you listening, it's something to seriously consider. What a great way to keep the restaurant operation simple, free up time to focus on, providing a great experience for guests and just doing what you do really, really, really well. You hear me? I guess, Chris, I relate so much to that because that's very much how we try to run Schedule Fly. Just do a few things and do them really well. So I think it's a great concept. I'm actually surprised. Are you not surprised that more restaurants don't do that? Because, there are some now that have, I guess, simpler menus and people are starting to understand that, but there's just so many that, even today there's places, like the place up near me recently, and I looked at the menu, I was like, I don't know where to start. There's like 80 items, and how could you do any of those really well, and then even if you could, which ones I don't know, it's just confusing. It's too much.
Right. Yeah, there's something to say for keeping things simple, but I certainly don't want to give anybody listening out there that the misconception of having a simple menu means these operations are simple to run because
good point.
Because it's when everything from the service to the food. We've got a great training program in place, but again, if you only have 5 things on the menu, your server or your bartender needs to know every single intricate detail about these entrees. We have a cheeseburger, and to me, it's a wonderful cheeseburger. It's obviously I'm more partial to it, but it's one of the best cheeseburgers I've ever had in my life. But we have time to focus, and our servers need to know about where the meat comes from, what the ratio of the meat is, where our cheese comes from, what bakery does the bread come from, what kind of bread, what is the process that these things are made. We put a bacon relish on top of the burger. What's comprised in the bacon relish? What's comprised of the ingredients of what makes up the ingredients of the ingredients. So we get really into detail about the knowledge of the menu, and we only hope that the servers are relaying that properly, and we think they are. But a simple menu does not always translate to a simple operation. It really puts more pressure on you. But it's something that my partners and I we like to think differently. We like to think outside of the box, and it's to us, my partner Charles, who's initially approached me with this thing, people, a normal person would say, I don't know about that, but we kind of like that. We feed off that. So, we certainly try to stay away from trends. And the thing about the food we offer there, it's honest food. We don't cut any corners, and you definitely get what you're paying for.
Well, that's a great point. It doesn't mean it's a very good point. I'm glad you talked about that. I mean, but then what it gives you is the opportunity to, it sounds like, to educate your guests and do a really good job of that, so that they really understand more about what you're doing and why you're doing it and why it's important. And people probably really like that, I would imagine. I mean, I'm guessing, but I would imagine that because, first of all, it is different than what you would typically get most places. And it is something unique, and it probably gives them the sense that, these guys are really dialed into what they're doing here, and the simplification makes them, enables them to be really, really good at it. And then guest education is, that's an enjoyable thing when you feel like you've got a server that, is not just saying like, here we have a burger and it's really good, but, here's what we do with it, here's why we do it, here's how we prepare it, here's why we believe it's, just an exceptional burger. That's a good experience to have as a customer, I would imagine.
Yeah, and the feedback's been wonderful. And like I said, there's been some reluctancy when you initially tell people when you initially tell somebody about the concept, but because it's different. And like I said, we're glad to be different. And I'm younger than my partner, and I tend to fall into trends more, but. And as he's got it's a struggle for him to try to keep me focused on staying simple with the concept, and it takes discipline to stay simple. Fortunately, my partner Charles, and I'm also fortunate that he's my mentor, and he's been in the business a lot longer than I have, so he's really good about keeping me and all the rest of the staff focused on and disciplined on keeping things simple, and then don't fall into the trends that you need to put this on your menu. You probably need to add a little bit more of this, or you guys need to do this, and let's just kind of stick with our guns, stick with what we're doing, and hopefully it'll lead to success.
Love it, man. All right, so changing gears a little bit, I want to ask you about something that I saw. I think it was an article from a year or so ago where you guys, and I think this was at Chuck's Fish, but you raised your minimum wage for your non-tipped employees to like $10.25 an hour, something like that. And I wanted to ask you, am I accurate? Is that right? Did I read that correctly? And if so, like, why did you do that? And what's happened since then? Because I think it was from like mid 2014 or something like that.
It is, yeah. We did it quite some time ago, but it's before all this. I think Congress now is pushing towards actually making this happen, or minimum wage is now becoming a big deal. But even before all that, we kind of looked at ourselves and said, first off, we don't advertise one single bit, and a lot of the money that's normally could be allocated towards a marketing expense or a PR expense, we like to put that money back into two things. One is a nonprofit company that we started, which I can share with you later. But the second is putting the money back into the employees. And we know, like I was mentioning about the servers earlier, we are only as good and we're only going to be successful as the people that work with us. But it's our goal to certainly become employees happy. And we look at our guys in the kitchen, especially that just quite frankly work their butts off every single night and working conditions that aren't glamorous. They're in the back, our porters. We don't call them dishwashers. We call our guys porters because they do a little bit of everything, and they're out there in the back humping it, and it's just and we're looking at this thing, man, like we really need to take good care of these guys. I mean, they're providing the clean silverware that's polished to a T that our guests are able to eat off of. And so, and quite frankly, we want our porters to be able to make enough money to afford to come eat in our own restaurants, So yeah, we raised the minimum wages in all of our stores across the board. and to ensure that that we're providing a decent living for these people that are working incredibly hard for us.
That's really cool. So, and yeah, you guys did do that well before that kind of became a national topic of conversation. So tell me, okay, so no advertising. Let's get into that a little bit. I mean, that's something that, is probably would scare a lot of folks. And again, you say you guys do things kind of differently. So you tell me about that. Especially, I want to hear about the not-for-profit. But really, just before you even get into that, like why did you guys decide not to advertise? That's such a common thing, and it's something that probably most people that are planning a restaurant just kind of assume, okay, well, how much do we allocate for advertising? Where do we advertise? And you said, you don't even do it. So talk about that.
Sure. Well, let me preface by saying that we support advertisers. We think it's a wonderful profession and career, and we're not advocates of other restaurants not advertising. That's certainly not what the angle that we take with it. It's just our personal way of doing things. Is I think it started back in my partner Charles, like I mentioned, has been doing many wonderful things for many years in regards to raising money for the less fortunate. He's been doing this Take a Kid Fishing campaign down there in Destin, Florida for the past 20 years, where once a year he raises money and he takes hundreds and hundreds of kids fishing and buys them their own rods and reels, and we have a bunch of boats that come together and it takes kids out fishing that normally get a chance to do so, and then he ends it with a big day of doing a big fish fry for all these kids that caught fish out in the ocean. So it's through different avenues like that where we like to allocate a lot of our marketing expense. At Chuck's Fish in Tuscaloosa, we were approached by the local YMCA there to sponsor a kind of an underprivileged youth football league, and a team, rather. They said, would you mind sponsoring a team? And at that point, I think Charles just stepped up and said, so you want, instead of just sponsoring the team, we'll sponsor your entire league. And so just kind of, the $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it took to kind of get all these uniforms and equipment for the kids. We just funded that. In return, they put our logo on the kids' uniforms. And so instead of one team having a Chuck's Fish logo, I think the entire league had a Chuck's Fish logo, but just with different colors. So it's basically it comes down to we realize that we do need to market ourselves and get ourselves out in the community. We would rather be able to spend that money, and we know that with any goodwill, there's good marketing that comes with it. So rather than just spending that money on any sort of print advertising, newspaper or TV or anything of that sort, we'd rather market ourselves, but at the same time being able to help somebody else with that money also.
Gotcha, man. That's really cool. Very cool. And then you were also talk a little bit about you were telling me before we started the call here about your food trucks that you have.
Sure.
That you have. I thought that was fascinating.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Well, I take great pride and interest in this operation. It was actually an idea that came up from Charles' son, Chad Morgan, while he was taking a course at the University of Alabama, where we have 2 stores. And during that course, he just came up with the idea, said, you know what, how about a food truck, but not for profit? And it was during the big food truck boom, the craze that's going on, and I guess it's still going on, but and again, we base it on the premise that while there's many wonderful soup kitchens out there doing wonderful things, a lot of times people that are in need of the services of soup kitchens can't transport themselves to go get the food, and so hence came the idea of in essence having a soup kitchen that can be transported and driven to impoverished locations to give out lunch. So that's when we came up with the idea of it's called American Lunch. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it's operated through volunteers, most of which are employees, but we invite the community to help volunteer with the truck. And what it is it's mostly from food that we purchase solely for the American Lunch operation, but we take a lot of the food, some of the food that might normally, not amount to much the next day in a restaurant, some leftover rice or leftover whatnot. And we create these restaurant quality meals, Gulf seafood gumbo or red beans and rice with sausage and garlic bread and sweet tea and water. What we do is our chefs prepare these meals, and the next day we pack the food truck up. We drive it to impoverished locations, and we give out lunch from 11 to 1. And we currently have 2 trucks in operation, one in Knoxville, Tennessee, and one in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And we're currently shopping around for a third truck that we want to operate in Chattanooga. And it's just a wonderful thing. Every Monday in Knoxville, for example, we go to the Summit Towers, which is a low-income housing project, and it's for 65 and older. And there's a ton of people in there who, on a Monday afternoon, would not be able to eat a lunch for their family or for themselves or for one reason or another. And so we pull the truck up into their parking lot, open the window of the food truck, and we have a line out there, people just waiting for these free meals that we give out. And it's a wonderful thing. And not only for the people that are receiving the food, but Charles and I realized that we're in a position where we employ a lot of younger generation. And, with the 300 plus employees we have amongst the 7 stores, they're still very, very impressionable. And it also gives us an opportunity to teach these kids that, being successful in the restaurant business, which we've been fortunate to be that way, but we find ourselves in a position that if you can help somebody else out, we're not heroes for doing so. It's just something that we think we should be doing. So we certainly don't, sit here and pat ourselves on the back for doing this. We only hope to serve as an example to other people to say, hey, listen, if you're in a position, if you're profitable, and if you're doing good, help somebody out. It's more to this business other than that bottom line. And you'll be able to put your head on the pillow at the end of the night and feel good about yourself.
Man, that's really cool. How many days a week do you do it?
We are currently doing the food truck 3 days a week. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Different location each day?
We try to stay consistent. Every Monday we'll go to this location. Every Wednesday we'll go to this location, just so we can get some routine to it, so people will know. And we post on our website, it's AmericanLunch.org, the different locations and the type of foods we'll be serving every week. And people always can check in with that to see where the food truck is going to be.
How many meals would you serve on a typical day?
Yeah, I would say, depending on location, but on average, I would say we serve about 80 lunches a day. I know that since its inception in July 2012, we're currently at about, I would say, around 25,000 lunches that we've served so far.
That is amazing, man. What a cool idea. So this is your partner's son who came up with this idea.
Correct. And he's his name's Chad, and he's actually down at Destin right now, running a restaurant. That's right.
Wow, that's really neat, guys. I think that's just so cool that you're doing that, Chris. And these are great examples, folks, that are listening here of things that are not sort of the conventional approach that are not really measurable. And I think sometimes people it's like, I don't know, there's the measurable things and there's the immeasurable things. And, you can't really measure what does it mean to staff when non-tip staff, when you just voluntarily go raise their minimum wage to a significant amount above what's required, or, what does it mean to the community when you're serving these meals like that. But, clearly it's something that you guys believe in and you're passionate about it. And, you're doing something that is different than what other people are doing. And, sometimes that can be hard to do because it's, if you can have some fear of going against the grain or trying things that are unproven or whatever. But the great thing about it is these kinds of things, if you stick with them and believe in them and they're core to what you do, they tend to work themselves out, don't they, Chris?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know, at the end of the day, we've been so fortunate to be successful in the business of selling food that you know it's really not a big deal for us to be giving some of it away. And so, you know, at all of our restaurants, we do a Thanksgiving Charity Day feast. Or on Thanksgiving Day, on the actual Thanksgiving Day at every location. Our chefs prepare an incredible, wonderful meal that they work on for weeks. I mean, it's not your frozen food, open a can and dump it on a plate. I mean, it's home cooked, incredible meals. And what we do is we open all of our doors on Thanksgiving Day to the general public, and anybody, no questions asked, is welcome to come into our restaurant on that day and enjoy a wonderful Thanksgiving meal. And what we do is, that's great for me because I'm in the past 8 years I've been one of our stores on Thanksgiving Day, and there's a common ground in all of it, and it's that it brings in all walks of life. Because what we do is, you know, there could be an affluent family who's very capable of preparing a Thanksgiving meal themselves, but what we do is we pick a local charity in town that we feel like that can use a little bit of our help. And what we do is, our doors are open on Thanksgiving Day, but the people come in and have a Thanksgiving meal, and that affluent family can write us a check and leave it in the little and give it to us as a donation because they know that we're picking a charity to help out. And then at the very end, what we do is we take all the money that's been donated to us on that day and we just give it all to that local charity that we picked. So in Knoxville last year, that was our first year that we did it, and I believe we served close to 500 meals that day, and we were able to raise almost $4,000 on Thanksgiving Day. And what we did was we picked a local charity called the Love Kitchen. This wonderful, wonderful twin sisters who've been doing it for years. Unfortunately, one of the sisters passed away this past year, but we'll certainly pick the Love Kitchen this year to help them out. So at the day after Thanksgiving, we took a check for $4,000 over to the women at the Love Kitchen. And you know, in situations like that, you know, yeah, we do get you know, press and media, you know, that come by and they film us and say, yeah, you guys are doing a great thing, but honestly, you know, the heroes in this situation is not us. It's those women over at the Love Kitchen who've been doing this. They do this every single day of their lives. You know, they provide free meals to homeless people every day. And here we are doing it one day out of the year and getting pats on the back. And that's wonderful. And it's great that we're getting that, you know, that people are paying mind to it. But, you know, like I said, well, we're not the heroes in this situation. We're only doing something because we think we should. And like I said, if we're in a position to help somebody out, especially on Thanksgiving Day, you know, helping out homeless people who aren't able to eat, a rich family who doesn't feel like cooking or doing dishes, or these people that run the Love Kitchen, you know, we're certainly happy to do so.
Man, that's really cool, Chris.
And that idea, sorry to cut you off, and that idea, that's something that Charles came up with. You know, he's been doing that for over 20 years down in Destin at Harbor Dock. You know, he has his charities that he picks down in Destin, and I think his store, don't quote me on these numbers, but I think last year he served like 12,000 lunches or meals on Thanksgiving Day, or raised, you know, $20,000-$30,000 on that day alone. I'm not exactly sure on those numbers, but it's somewhere around there. But he does that. He's been doing that for, you know, almost 30 years. So
that's so cool, man. What a great part of your culture and the way you guys do things. It's just, you know, I tip my hat, man. It's wonderful to hear that. Let me ask you this. One more thing I want to ask you, and I know what you're running. I know you're busy. But what would you tell yourself if you could grab a hold of yourself from, you know, when you were just getting started with the business, and based on what you learned over the years, any advice you'd give yourself?
Any advice I'd give myself? You know, I would tell myself to expect problems every day. And I, in fact, you know, just had a meeting with some of our managers in our Chattanooga store yesterday. It's, you know, they're getting overwhelmed. It's a new store, it's a new operation, and they feel like they're in uncharted territory because they're bringing all these problems to the table. And, you know, one thing or another. And I think in this business, you're going to have to learn that no 2 days are really alike. You're going to have to expect problems, but the key, I think, which has helped us to get to at least where we are now, is to realizing that there's going to be mistakes, but it's what you do after you realize that there are mistakes. And we're sitting in a meeting. We had an hour-long meeting, and I don't particularly like long meetings, so I tend to say, hey, after an hour, we're done, because everybody loses attention. But the things at the end of the meeting, I said, okay, look, no one's half the battle, right? We've got all these problems. Everybody's taking great notes. I'm paying attention. You have great notes. You have great notes. The key is now, like, what are we going to do with these notes after we leave this meeting? Like, effective communication, and I'll go into this a little bit why we like schedule slides so much. But effective communication is absolute key to fixing mistakes. And we have a back of the house. Our kitchen manager is at the meeting. All the problems that we point out in the kitchen. Like, how is he going to get that message across to his entire staff? How is the bar front of the house manager going to get his problems across to the servers and the bar staff? And the communication, good communication. So let's take all these notes, let's realize these mistakes, but then let's figure out how we're going to fix these mistakes and make sure they don't happen again. So to answer your question, I would tell myself, listen, expect mistakes. You've got to be good about making sure these mistakes are noticed, rectified, and then making sure that we don't repeat these mistakes.
Gotcha. Good advice. Good stuff. Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, Chris. This is really fascinating and very educational for anybody that listens. And I hope, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the videos we've produced. We did a video series for the last couple of years, kind of featuring successful restaurant owners, and we haven't done one in about a year now, because frankly I got a little tired of traveling. But I think we're going to start picking it up a little bit more in 2016. Man, I would love to come film you sometime and have you share a little bit of your story and let us make some really cool videos about what you guys are doing, if you'd be into it. I think you all are I really love the way you go about business, and just your style and your approach and your philosophy, and it's just really refreshing and inspiring, man. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be absolutely tickled to do that. Man, it's nice of you to take note of. We do things unconventionally, and we don't really do things the typical way, and it's nice of you to take notice. And we feel the same about your company. I mean, which is why we're attracted to Schedule Fly. The details are wonderful. I use the dashboards there, so where I log in to look at all the locations, and I hear from all my management staff. It's the usability and how easy it is to communicate to the rest of the staff. The platform you guys have provided is we feel it's simple. It's laid out nicely, which kind of goes along with our concept of being simple. And it's not overly done. It's not try to get too fancy with bells and whistles. It's everything you need and nothing more. And congrats to y'all for running a successful deal down there.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you saying that. You didn't need to say that too. So that's real kind of you. I really appreciate it. We're honored to have your business and appreciate it, man. Just thanks again for the time. This is really, I'm excited. I can't wait to post this. I know anybody listening is going to get a ton of value, and hopefully, think about ways that, not necessarily the common ways of doing things that could be really valuable and success for their business and helpful in their community, and just really good stuff, man. So, Chris, thank you very much, man. We'll stay in touch for sure. Really appreciate the time.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay, thanks.